A large pot with all that clay. First, it has to be kneaded into shape. That's what Michael's doing. It's a bit like making bread. Now it's ready for the potter. He makes pots on a wheel which spins around and turns the clay with it. Watch how Philip turns this lump of clay into a pot. Now it's looking more like a flower pot, a very big one. And there, it's finished. It's hard work making a pot like this, but look how many Philip has made in just one morning. You couldn't use these pots yet because the clay is still soft. They have to be fired. That means cooking them in a huge oven called a kiln. It's so hot inside the kiln that everything glows bright red, even the bricks that it's made from. When they've been fired, the pots change colour and are hard. Now they're ready to be used.
I've turned his flower pots into a musical instrument. It's quite easy, really. All I've done was to thread a string through the hole in the bottom of the pot, and I've tied a little washer on the end to stop it coming through again. And then the pots can swing freely when you hit them. Of course, you mustn't hit them too hard, otherwise they break. We have a story about someone who made music out of pots, and his name was Fu the Potter. Long ago, in the land of Chen, there lived a princess called Lo Yen. She was young and beautiful and fond of music. Now, in those days, the people of Chen did not have music like ours. No, they made their music on vases, and each tune was of one note only. Or two. Or at most, three. Each potter in the land of Chen wanted to make a vase more beautiful and of a purer sound than any that had been made before. In the 5th month of every year, a competition was held.
From Anton.
All the potters throughout the land would go up to the palace of Princess Lo Yen and take their vases. The maker of the most beautiful vase would be rewarded with the present of a gold ornament or silver money, and a special title which would make him highly honoured for the rest of his life. In a poor part of the city, there was a potter called Fu, who desired most eagerly to win the competition, because he wished above all to please Lo Yen and see her smile. Fu was a hard-working potter, but the truth is, he was clumsy. Sometimes his clay was too dry and broke in the firing. Sometimes it was too thick, so that his vases wouldn't Sometimes the shapes were ugly, or the glaze was too thick, or the bottom uneven, so the vase would not stand straight. All the same, he worked away happily, sure that one day he would make the vase which would win him the princess's bright smile. And in any case, the vases which didn't turn out right could always be sold at the market as common water pots. When the 5th month came round again, Fu took his best vase to the palace and waited his turn with the other potters. On her throne in the great hall of state sat the princess. The judges sat beneath the throne at a long table covered with paper and ink and brushes for them to make notes.
Chen from Yen Chao.
Each pot was sounded by the chief musician. And the judges made marks on their papers, for not only was the beauty of the sound considered, but also the shape of the vase, its colour, and its general appearance. For several hours the contest went on. Some of the vases were tall and slender, some squat and round. Some were as white as a summer cloud, others were brightly patterned. All were different, and all had different notes. At last it was Fu's turn.
Fu from Xinjiang.
His vase was a clumsy-looking object, and it gave no note at all, only a hollow, dead sound. Lo Yen said nothing, but looked a little sad. Poor Fu took up his clay pot and went home. The very next day he began all over again. He seized a great lump of red clay and slapped it onto his wheel. He began to turn and shape and mould as best he could. All year long he worked hard, thinking of the princess and how she might smile at him. He had little ear for music, but when the 5th month came round again, he chose the pot that seemed to him the best. And once more set off to the palace.
Fu from Xinjiang.
Why does such a clumsy potter as this keep on trying? Whispered the chief musician as Fu stepped forward with his new vase. It really was quite ugly. Squat, pot-bellied, and with 2 rounded handles that were meant to be alike, but which anyone could see didn't match. It sounds like the last cluck of a dying hen, said the chief musician. As for the judges, they didn't even bother to put a single mark against Fu's name. Poor Fu. Again he had failed to make the princess smile. As he turned to leave, he stumbled. His pot fell on the marble floor and was smashed. Everyone roared with laughter, and Fu crept away, too ashamed even to pick up the pieces. The servant boy noticed what a pleasant sound the pieces of pottery made as he swept them down the steps. To amuse himself, he picked up a stick, and, using it as a hammer, he hit each piece of the broken vase and listened to the sound it made. he found that the little pieces made high tinkling sounds. And the bigger ones gave lower notes. That evening, the princess was walking in the garden. The air was quiet and still. Suddenly, she heard beautiful sounds, sounds which had never been heard before in the land of Chen. The music made her dance with pleasure. It was the servant boy. He had made a bamboo frame for his pieces of pottery and hung them in a row. And with all the notes he had made up a tune. The princess was delighted with the music and asked if she might try the new instrument. The servant boy explained how he had made the instrument from Fu's broken vase. "Ah, I remember the poor fellow," said the princess. "I must see if he can be found." The next day, Fu the potter was brought to the palace, and Princess Lo Yen thanked him most graciously for having made the pieces of crockery for the new instrument, and then she smiled. And so Fu got his wish, to see the princess smile. She gave him a shed in the palace yard where he could go on making pieces of crockery from musical instruments. For soon the new music became the fashion, and the noble ladies and gentlemen all had sets of pieces strung on a bamboo frame. And the chief musician had made for him the biggest instrument of all, so that he could invent different and complicated tunes of his own. And that was the beginning of true music in the land of Chen.
See if you can find some pots to make music on, or perhaps you can find some other things which make pleasant sounds when you hit them.
Next time, we'll be looking at other ways of making music. Until then, bye-bye.
Goodbye.